Hello, and welcome to Experts Unplugged, leadership speaker spotlights from the Tri-State Camp Conference, where I, as a fellow speaker at the conference, I'm going to highlight, and I have been highlighting some of our amazing speakers from the upcoming Tri-State Camp Conference, which is through the American Association's New York and New Jersey chapters, which is taking place March 12th to 14th in the Atlantic City Convention Center in New Jersey. So our chat here today focuses on leadership and how our expertise impacts others to really think like leaders. I'm Joanne Newborn. I am the CEO of Newborn Evolution, where we help smart leaders build teams that think strategically, problem solve effectively, and really take true ownership of the outcomes. So today I'm going to be talking to Briana Mitchell about her talk, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, the Power of Reflection as a Leader. I love this. I can't wait till we get into this. But I just want to tell you a little bit about Briana first. She is the founding president of S'more Summer, a change summer initiative where she partners with camps to create more summer experiences that center joy. Love that word. Center joy, equity, and belonging. She is also the president of strategy and operations for Change Summer, which creates high quality, transformative summer opportunities for students from under-resourced communities. And Briana serves as an active member of the Board of Trustees of the American Camp Association of New York and New Jersey, as well as the co-chair of the affiliate's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. Briana also has extensive experience teaching and leading operations in K-12 education. So thank you for sharing time with me today, Briana.
Thank you for having me.
So the first thing I'd like to ask you is, why is reflection such an important and powerful tool for leaders?
It's a great question. And even hearing you speak about the goals of your organization and that we want to teach people what it means to be a good leader, something that really comes to mind for me quite often when I think about my own leadership is we have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so, one of the most critical things that we do all the time is we're always asking our teams to get better and to get better faster, right? And to implement
Mhm.
changes that are going to improve our program. And we should be doing that. But if we want to encourage and inspire them and provide them even sometimes with a roadmap for how to do that, we as leaders have to do that ourselves. It's very important to communicate that we're not sort of absolved from having to engage in reflection, even though sometimes maybe we wish we didn't have to reflect on certain things. It's a critical component of what it is that we do and the work that we're trying to achieve and continuing to make our programs better to meet the needs of our folks. And so I think it's important and it's a powerful tool because it can model for our folks what it looks like to be reflective, but then it also encourages us to walk the walk and talk the talk.
So I was just curious. I wanted to ask you just a little follow-up on that.
Sure.
Would you call reflection an extension of self-awareness, or
It's a
is
great,
it?
pardon me, it's for interrupting. It's a great question. In my opinion, I think that self-awareness leads to good reflection.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that self-awareness is sort of like a lens through which we operate and we function throughout the world. The more self-aware I am, the more I know how I'm showing up in certain spaces, how my presence is maybe having an impact on that of others, right? And the more self-aware I am, and the more I've developed my self-awareness lens, the more reflective I can be so that I can be honest about whether it's my program, my people, my own leadership style. So I would say that one sort of begets the other.
Okay, great. Yeah, we talk about self-awareness a lot in terms of like a good leader really can't um impact change in themselves or someone else unless they start with their own self-awareness. So that's why I wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So how can all camp professionals benefit from incorporating this reflection into their work?
It's a great question. When I think about the camp industry and I think about specifically summer camps, they're seasonal, right? Our time is truncated. We're like 10 and 2. We have like 10 months of the off season and 10 months of planning to really execute 2 months of programming. Obviously, there are some nuances within that, but for a lot of us who run specifically summer programs, we're talking about 10 and 2. And so, given the dynamic of the summer camp schedule, I know two things to be true. I know that one, when you know better, you do better. right?
Mhm.
And that is what we want to apply to our teams, to ourselves, to our programs in general, is the more information we have to do better, the better we can do and the more improvements we can make. I also know the second thing to be true is that things move at the speed of camp. And camp is an incredibly, incredibly fast-paced environment. And so sometimes those two concepts of knowing better and doing better and the speed of camp, it's hard for them to exist in concert with one another. And so uh folks can benefit from the power of reflection because it can allow us to ensure that we're continuing to make improvements and do better and do so on a timeline that is realistic, because camp moves very, very, very fast. I think that the other way that it can help us is that if we are thinking about, again, the skills that we want our teams to model, if we are able to model being reflective and recognizing wins, near misses, celebrations, we're going to be able to ensure that our teams are equipped to do the same, which is going to help them become better leaders, not just within our spaces, but in general. The earlier they start to flex that muscle, the more it's going to go on to serve them, regardless of what they tend to do in their future paths.
Amazing, amazing. I am always so surprised at how many parallels there really are to the corporate world. When you said how it moves at the speed of light, I feel like every organization they are moving at the speed of light, but they also need to move at the speed of light because the lifespan of an organization has shortened tremendously if companies aren't agile and changing. So I feel like everyone should go to camp before they enter the corporate world. I really think that.
Yeah, I love that.
So how does practicing reflection impact the entire camp community?
Yeah, I think in a number of ways. I think one, something that you just said, Joanne, which really spoke to me, was about agility and about being able to make sort of rapid pace changes, right? When I think about a different sector, let's say, for example, if I'm thinking about a clothing store, if a clothing store it does not have clothes that are on trend or like fashionable, people will not buy them. The lifespan of that clothing company might be very short-lived. I think that this alacrity and this agility that is so true and inherent to the business sector is not happening as fast in the summer camp industry. The reason being is that the summer camp industry is largely based on traditions, and a lot of times it's based on like inherited cultural understandings or practices. And so there is actually a slowness, excuse me, and there's really also not the same sort of like, not to speak in grim terms, but threat to viability if folks don't change, right? If I'm a camp and I've been running a camp program for 150 years, I can probably find whether it's alumni or legacy members or other folks who have bought into the way that I do things. And like my program will kind of keep going regardless of whether or not I make any changes.
Yeah.
However, this is the time, to your point, that like we should all be reflective and all be thinking about ways that we can make more changes. And so I would love to bring that same sort of principle and practice of being agile, being able to meet the needs of our folks in a way that's a little bit speedier to the summer camp industry. So I think that one, that's how reflection can support the entire community, is I think that it can help us to sort of like break this old narrative of like, well, that's just the way things are. Like that's how we've always done it, or that's just tradition. And it's not that we want to lose those things. What we want to do is instead pause and ask, the way that we've always done it, is that still serving us and our people today the same way that it maybe did yesterday? And are the traditions, cultures, and practices that are sort of inherent to our program, are they still serving and meeting the needs of our communities the same way that they did yesterday? And if the answer is no, what is our process for then possibly making any changes or adjustments to those? And one of the things I think about specifically when it comes to leadership is sometimes we can build and craft these programs that are like based on us, right? When I look at
Yeah.
the folks that I hire, I'm like, oh, they're all type A, super like high energy folks, and those are the people that like I want to work most with, excuse me, and that's okay. But is actually what's in the best what's going to best meet the needs of my program or my organization? And so the way that reflection can help benefit the overall community is it can help us to stop and think about our own practices as a leader, and to be able to determine, is the way that we are operating best practice, or is it just the way that I've always done it and I'm familiar with it? And if there is a difference between those two things, what can I do about it?
Yeah, everything you said there was just so juicy. Like when you started, you said a couple of times serving others. And so as you were saying that, I'm thinking, yes, that is also like what organizations they really need to think about, that serving their clients, serving their customers, and not be, all about me. And then you said it right after it, because that's exactly what I was thinking. And that to me is the most important word that you used there, was serving others. And really, camps and organizations are there to be in service of others. So such great points.
Thank you.
What are some other ways that you and S'more Summer support camp leaders and professionals?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first, I think it's always really helpful to have somebody. Sort of call myself like your summer BFF, and that I used to be a camp director, and so during the summer I was running camp programs. But now that I've transitioned to the role of president of strategy and operations at Change Summer, one of the beauties of the shift in my role is that I now can go and support other camps. I can go and visit Camp A, Camp B, and Camp C while they are in session, which is all of us who know who are leaders or who run camps, that's usually not something that we're afforded the opportunity to do. And so we were able to do at S'more Summer to support folks in that and continuing their own reflection. The first is we provide coaching to leaders. We provide coaching for leaders so that one, they are making the space for the reflection. That if you have somebody else saying, remember, we have our meeting today where we're going to talk about and reflect on first session and what we're going to implement regarding second session, just holding the space sometimes holds us accountable, because at the speed of camp, there are so many fires and so many things that we're putting out and things that are happening that sometimes having somebody just to hold the space for you will ensure that the reflection will happen. The other way that we support leaders in their reflections is that we really help. I'm a realist and a pragmatist. And so what I help leaders determine is after we engage in reflection and we have our possible changes that we want to implement, how do we parse those into what is a low lift, high impact change that can impact my program tomorrow, next week, that I'm actually able to do right now, versus what are those that are going to require more of like a mindset or paradigm shift that are going to take a little bit more buy-in from some of our other stakeholders. And when do we then take those on, right? It's not just an acknowledgement that like, all right, here are the ones we can do today to make program even better. Here's some other ones that are going to take some time and we'll get back to those whenever. It's great. How and when are we going to do these? And I'm going to follow up to see how they went. And then how are we going to make a plan for these longer term changes that might require a little bit more of a buy-in and shift? And then the other way that we do that is we actually help support and facilitate these conversations among teams, right? Sometimes when you are so insular and you're so in the work, it's challenging to even know where to start vis-a-vis reflection and when to reflect. And so what we're able to do is we're able to come in and support not only leaders via coaching, but also to facilitate these reflection conversations with teams so that they are getting the information and the nuggets that they need to make their program better tomorrow than it was yesterday, in a way that's going to provide, again, the space to do it in a little bit of objectivity, which is sometimes helpful for us.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And that feeds right into what I'm very passionate about, is building those high performance teams. So amazing. And I love the way it just seamlessly, just flows right into it. Amazing. So that's our little unplugged nugget of Briana's talk. And I just want to let everyone know she's speaking Tuesday, March 12th at 12:30 p.m. So make sure you catch her, because this is fascinating, fascinating information. And I'm going to be speaking on Wednesday, March 13th at 8:30 a.m. I'm going to be talking about creating rock stars, designing collaborative high performance teams. So bring your coffee and join me, because leading a high performance team that can be consistently relied upon is an absolute must to thrive and serve others in today's ever-changing landscape. So thank you so much, Briana, and I really look forward to meeting you in March.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.